All right, aloha and welcome back. And today we have two special guests from the UK, George and Mandy of Opera-lele. Welcome, you guys.
Oh,
Hi,
thank you
great
for
to be here.
having
I
us.
know
Oh,
it's been so long. Like I remember I saw you guys in Austria, 2019, and we
Yeah.
were supposed to see each other last year, but everyone got
Yes.
shut down. I don't know, situations over there. I hear it's pretty
yeah.
bad now. But like, how was your guys' 2020, and like how was just like adapting to the new norm?
Well, I think it's probably fair to say it wasn't as we imagined it.
Okay.
It was certainly quieter than it was due to be. Our 2020 was due to be our busiest year on record, and then suddenly it was. It was only just busier than the year before we actually started.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty quiet, but it was all right. We got to do some cool stuff. What do you reckon, Mandy?
Yeah, we very soon from being sort of the first lockdown, we sort of went, right, how on earth are we going to do this to try and create? Because you're an artistic person and, your passion is being on stage and performing, the first thing that went through my mind was, okay, how do we still entertain people? Because
Yeah.
that because for me, not having that opportunity really knocked me for six at the start, because that's what that's the thing I love to do more than anything, is to have an audience and entertain, and just realizing that audience is just slightly different, and looking at how we can keep in touch with people, how we can give people a laugh, because it's been hard, and we're, as Opera-lele, we are trying to bring some lightheartedness and some humor along the way as well, and we wanted to keep that going as well. And being a duo that live separately, there was even a bigger challenge, because we legally couldn't be together
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
same space for a long time.
Yeah,
um,
which is an excellent thing in many ways.
and that's what's made our 2020 brilliant, I'll
It's
be
been the
honest with
highlight
you.
has been the fact that we've had to maintain 30 miles distance between each other.
It's been
Um,
bliss.
Yeah.
yeah, although the courts have been trying to make that happen for a while anyway. But no, we did manage to find a few ways that we were able um, to work together, I suppose, is the best way, and to come up with something creative and to enable us to maintain a presence, I suppose, because
Yeah.
it's we didn't want to go down the road of putting out loads and loads of videos of us just playing the stuff that we normally do,
Yeah.
because from a business point of view, that that can make things tricky, because obviously if we're putting out loads and loads of content, then arguably will people come and see us live?
That I have to agree with you 100% on that. And that's why, like, I think it was towards maybe like September, October.
Hmm.
I was like, I can continue this routine of making videos, but then that's why I was like, let me come up with like a podcast. Like this is my way of like just keeping things fresh. And I get to catch up with all my friends. So it's just like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
it's really
And
cool.
it's the same kind of for us, because that's
Hmm.
when we came up with doing a fortnightly quiz. I think it started weekly.
We were weekly to start
We
with,
were
yeah.
we were weekly to start with, and we just said, let's just make up a quiz. We started with a ukulele themed quiz, and then we went, well, we can't, we had just about enough material to make one quiz out of all of the questions we could come up with. And then we went, okay, let's turn it into like something general knowledge, and that then became a thing. And we've had regular people log in every 2 weeks now, who are, it's the thing they look forward to on a Sunday. And it still means we're engaging with people, but we're still having a laugh. We're still being who we are. We are being Opera-lele, but we are just offering something a bit different. And we've
Yeah.
had quite a few people message us saying, I love the quizzes, but I've never got to see you live. We can't wait for this all to be over, and then we can come and support you in doing what you do, which I think is fantastic. And that means a lot to us, because we're just trying to find these different avenues at the moment.
Yeah.
And like what you're doing with the podcast, it's just giving something else that's involved within your world, but not a performance.
Right. And I know there was like last year, I don't see it as much, but of course, like live streams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever do like a live stream like in the past year?
Well, live stream is tricky for us. Well, live stream is tricky because for most of 2020 we weren't allowed to perform on the same stage as each other.
Oh, that's right.
Because we don't live together. So we did quite a few pre-records, and now that kind of came up with its own issues in itself.
I will say that George had to learn a lot of technology and computer programs to make it work. So I think that the learning curve that George certainly had at the start of lockdown was huge, because it was, how are we going to put two videos together? How are we going to have decent audio that is equal to each other? Because we didn't want someone using a different microphone and it sounding different and odd, and the complications with mixing as well. So there was a very steep learning curve at the start, but you're pretty 100% on it now, aren't you, George?
Well, I'm a bit more efficient at it. I mean, there's still lots of I can do enough. I think that's probably the best way to word it. But yeah, I mean, it was just things like, right, okay, we've got to, if we both go out and buy a green screen, then we can film each other. We film ourselves. And record the audio live. So we were performing live.
Yeah.
And there was no lip syncing or anything like that. But then, so I would record my part, the audio and the video, and then send it over to Mandi, and she would record her part.
I'd have George's video on an iPad with one headphone.
Other tablets are available.
Oh, I see.
And then record my part. But when lockdown went a little bit further and live streaming was possible, we only did a few. There was a venue in South London called the Stanley Halls, and they were looking for a concert series. And this was sort of at the end of lockdown 1. They wanted different acts to come in, and we went into the venue, and they had a brilliant setup. There was sort of 8 cameras surrounding us. It was professionally mixed. The video was great. And then they live streamed that. But that was a fundraiser more for the venue itself. And then but really most of what we've done has been pre-recorded, nearly for the fact that we just can't perform together most of the time.
We did manage to squeeze in a couple of gigs live on stage to an actual audience. We did a drive-in gig, which was odd, but it was really cool.
Nice.
It was in a field, just in a very rural field, and there was this great big stage with great big screens on either side, and it poured down with rain, and everyone stayed in their cars with the windscreen wipers on. And
but it was really wild, because as soon as you finish song, instead of people clapping, everyone's honking their horns, flashing their lights. I mean, that's the closest to a rock star I think I'm ever going to feel.
That's cool. No, it's funny you said that. They had a drive-in movie night here at the theater, and I was one of the opening acts before the movie, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, the horns. The guy was like, "Oh, don't worry, they're not mad. That's a good sign." So yeah, it was interesting, because we would, if it wasn't for this whole COVID thing, we would probably never experience something like that.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and it is. I guess it's not searching for the positives, but kind of going all about looking at these new experiences, and also seeing how that those new experiences can be utilized beyond COVID. So like, more drive-in events, I think, will be a regular thing, because we now know how it works. And I think it's given actually more possibilities and opportunities for performers once this is all over. So, and I think this year and this summer, it will be the same. It will be looking at how we utilize the time of good weather as much as you can in England. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens this coming summer, if they use those ideas they came up with last year and kind of develop that. And I think it's quite exciting you know, I know we're at a point where we've got some gigs in the diary this year, but we're just not completely sure if it's going to happen. I'm quite confident that there will be some events happening outdoors, because we tried that last year and they work.
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm itching to go to a ukulele festival again. Just the vibe and everything, and just being able to play in front of an audience. And that's the big difference of this year, or this whole year, is just like, it's just different. You know, you're in front of a camera and you don't have the energy. And as a fellow performers, I know that's what you guys enjoy too, is the energy of the crowd, all that stuff. So it's being absent. I know, I was like, oh man, that's like that. I miss the crowd, because that's my element. My first passion is performing, and I guess secondary would be like teaching and stuff like that. But I definitely the absence of that was definitely, I was like, it's just different. It's just different. But I guess we'll see what happens. I don't know. I just miss just seeing everybody. You know, I mean, I'm stuck on this like one island. I've been on this island. This is the longest I've ever been on Maui. But because I usually travel somewhere, I'm so used to going like somewhere like every couple months, even if it's just, you know, to the West Coast on the mainland, or if it's to Oahu, and in the past 2 years I've been going like internationally. So this is just I feel like I'm on a big time out a little bit.
And it's interesting because quite early on, so this must have been sort of back in, you know, April, May time. I think I came to the realization, if 18 months ago you'd asked me why I perform, a lot of I might not have said this to you, but certainly what would have been going through my head would have been, well, it's the job. You know, it's just what I do. It's what I've always done. It's not just a job, but that's a large part of it. You know, the reason I go out and perform and I do gigs is because it earns me money, and that's what pays the bills and all that sort of stuff. But interestingly, having had all of that taken away from me, and having had to find other ways to maintain an income, I've suddenly realised that actually the performing side of things is so much more than I ever really gave it credit for. It's a massive part, and it's left you know, a huge chasm in my life, and I guess we all as performers have got to be aware of that, and take care of each other, because it is, you know, it's a big missing part of what we all do. And also I've realized that actually most of my friends are also colleagues. And again, I'd never really thought about it, but you know, I've been acutely aware of the fact that actually, especially during the summer season over here, most weekends Opera-lele's out on the road doing a gig somewhere and bumping into the same crowd of people. And we haven't had any of that. We haven't seen any of those people. So, you know, that was quite a big realization for me, actually.
That's a great realization. I mean, you're 100%. I have to agree. Sorry, was that Mandy?
No, just going to say is that it's really difficult, because some people talk about this ukulele community that we have, and sometimes people find that cliche or odd. But I've definitely realized that the community that the instrument has given us has really shaped our social circle, because like George says, we're out every weekend, and we are with people who enjoy listening to us, that we also consider, you know, very close to us and friends. And you suddenly realize what someone going to a festival, what they get from it and what we get from it are very similar. It's that shared community of that love of the instrument, and that's what I miss, is being able to be in a big crowd of people and be able to talk about the instrument and, you know, equipment, and being really nerdy about it, because I can't do that at home at the pub with my friends who are not involved in that, who just go, I don't really want to hear that. And suddenly you realize that it is a community, and it is this kind of family that we don't see each other over the winter, and then suddenly over the summer we're in each other's pockets every weekend. And I guess that's what I've really missed is that camaraderie.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I met George and Mandy back in 2018. I came to the UK for the first time, got enough. And just something I noticed about, I was just blown away right away. Just the how the ukulele community is there. It's very, very different from Hawaii and even the mainland. And it
Really?
just, I don't, and just that festival in general, I think it was, there's such a community aspect of Good Enough. It's like you run into the same people. You're like, oh, I have a workshop near the pub. I'll see you later, and it just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like you said, it felt like family. And like after meeting you guys for the first time, I don't know if it's just a ukulele like community thing, but it's like you're like automatically become like a friend like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
good to see you guys again. And they're just, it's like there's literally no worries, and there's no politics, and there's no drama in the ukulele community. And we're at those festivals.
Yeah, and I think oh, go on.
I was going to say, with Ganaf, I think that's a great example of a festival that has community at its heart.
Yeah.
It is made to be that kind of family reunion. It's supposed to be, spread amongst this town where you're just walking down the street and you'll see someone with a uke on their back and you're like, hi, and straight away you're part of something. And like the way that we met you, and we kind of instantly, we all got on and had a great laugh together. I think that's a testament to these festivals that make you feel so welcome.
Yeah.
And no matter where you're coming from with the instrument, for us coming in as classical singers and being, to people virtuosos such as yourself, and just, how we all use the instrument differently, but straight away we have that respect and that bond.
Yeah.
There's a story that Mandy's heard me tell before, which is we did a festival over in Finland, and it was pretty cold. There was a few feet of snow on the ground, and there were a few UK artists going over to perform that year, and we got a minibus from the airport, to the hotel, and it was clearly nowhere near big enough for the number of us, plus instruments and suitcases and stuff like that. But we all kind of bundled in, and we all knew each other because we'd all come off the same flight, and I sat opposite Phil Dolman, and Phil Dolman he's a good friend of both of us, and in fact we both knew Phil individually before we met each other, and Phil and I were just chatting, and one of the things we spoke about was the fact that it's great, we're good friends, but in no way, shape or form should he and I be friends. Because I come from I've been a musician since I was a young child, and I've been in the music business for over 20 years. But I know I don't look old enough. But it's I've only been in the ukulele world for the last 5 years, and Phil has come through, playing in blues clubs and jazz and playing guitar into the ukulele world. And we sat there talking about the fact that, well, in no other way, had it not been for the ukulele, no other way would we be sitting crammed in the back of this minibus driving through a snowy Finland. This instrument is the only reason that we're friends, and and it does have this ability to suck you in whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
And it does, and you're absolutely right. It is a community, and it does have. I'm not going to say it's got magical powers, but it does have. The community has this ability to really envelop anybody who comes into contact with it and make them part of it.
Because I remember someone saying to me, "Oh, the ukulele is magic," and I went, "It's not magic. It's just a magnet. It's just a magnet for like-minded weirdos." And
I guess that's the way to say it.
All of us.
Yeah.
But we all
say what you really think, Mandy.
No, I don't mean it like that. What I mean that
it's lovely to be here, Andrew. Thank you for inviting us.
Oh no, it's so good to catch up with you guys. I missed you guys.
I'm gonna shut up now.
No, Nandi, let's hear it. I want to hear it.
No, I just believe that the ukulele brings so many different styles and influence. I mean, I don't know any. I know that there are the odd occasional like guitar festivals, flute, saxophone. I don't really know any other instrument that has this kind of draw for people who just get so passionate about it.
Well, and so many festivals, especially
it's something.
So over here,
but it creates
I don't.
a real passion, and that's what
it does.
I'm amazed by.
Yeah, but as you rightly say, there are guitar festivals and there are trombone festivals and singing festivals and all that kind of stuff. But in the UK, I don't know what the number is, but there will be probably 30 that I would say big ukulele festivals in the UK. Maybe somewhere between 20 and 30, and then lots of smaller, kind of more local festivals, if you like, that will maybe have one headline act and then some local groups and stuff like that. But there's so much going on over here for a small island. Really, not as small as yours, but still a small island, and there's so much going on, and it doesn't seem to be waning in popularity either. Bizarrely, it's still going.
Yeah, no, I don't know what it is. Like you said, I consider my closest friends ukulele players, and it's just that there's this. It's kind of like this glue that brings us all together. But I don't know. It's that feeling you experience when you're just around other ukulele players, despite, like what we do, like other than ukulele, it's just like, wow, you're just like, yeah, like I said before, like you're like a friend already. And there's like, even like when we're in Austria, right, we're having dinner with Dead Man's Uke, you guys, there's a few others, but it was just like, there's just that initial, I don't know. It's like people have to be in the ukulele community to understand it, because it's something you can say it's like a magnet or magical, but it's hard to explain.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there aren't many. I was going to say a rude word, then I won't say that. But there aren't many bleep holes in the ukulele on the ukulele circuit. There aren't many unlikable people. Really,
bleep holes. That's the next album name, holes. George.
Bleep holes. Okay.
Yeah. for sure. No, it's like like I don't know. There's rarely an ukulele player you do not like.
There's a few that I'd like not to like. There's a few people who are irritatingly good or irritatingly nice, and I really want to not like them, but I can't.
That's a nice way to say it.
Yeah.
And
very British.
Yeah, and just like that's one thing I noticed. I think it was just the first day we arrived. I remember we I don't know how long. It was like 23-hour journey, and I think it was that. What was that place we went to? It was that one pub, but it was kind of like the getting to know each other for the artists, and it was like Gnuff. Yeah, it was at that.
So it's the Sportsman. The Sportsman, I think it's called.
Is that the one that was like we had? It could be.
Or there's the Head of Steam.
So Head of Steam. That was it.
The one by the station. Yeah.
Right. So and then that's when I learned. I was just like the style of how the ukulele played in the UK is just on a just different. Like the purpose can be used for like how Robin does his, he has that microphone thing and he uses the suitcase. I was like, what is this? You got Dead Man's Uke, gonna go like old school style. And then what you guys do, you incorporate comedy into your act. And I was like, I've never seen anything like it. And I remember the first song that you sang, it was just like, the song about like the fish, like it's like a play on
fish.
It's like played on. It's like you say a sentence, but it's like played on the last word as a rhyme. So you think something's gonna rhyme with it. Like what is that? What is that called?
No. Oh well, no. Well, I don't. What's that one? Is that?
I think that's Renaissance Uke
Man. Was that Renaissance Uke Man? Was that down in the?
You think it's gonna be a bad word?
The crayfish. Yeah, the crayfish. Yeah, so that's one of my rude songs. That would have been down in the bar. That would have been the late night cabaret with Mim. Yeah. And Tristy Vogue and stuff like that.
Yeah, could you do like a couple lines so like people understand what I'm talking about?
That's right. Yeah. Okay, so
can't perform. Do it.
Well, I'm trying to think. I can't remember the last time I did this song. So it would be fisherman, standing by the sea. Do you have a crayfish that you could sell to me by the wayside? I-diddly-I-do. And then it goes. Well, I got the crayfish home and I thought it'd like a swim, so I pulled out the chamber pot and threw the crayfish in by the wayside, hi diddly-I-do. And then it goes, Children, children, did you hear the grunt? Come and see the crayfish that bit your mother's nose by the wayside. Hi, diddly-eye-do. I could go on.
No, I remember like everyone was just laughing, and I was like, I've never seen that, especially with ukulele. But I was like, I love this guy already. So like, just I don't know, just being introduced to your guys' style in the UK is just like, and how how did you guys even find the ukulele? Like, I didn't even know ukulele was even in the UK. Like,
go on, Mandy, you start.
Well, I mean, the ukulele has the history within the UK is very different because we had George Formby and the sort of more classic, like sort of banjo uke players, and so that was kind of the past history of it. And then, of course, you know, a couple of years ago, a lot of the primary schools would have recorder lessons, and they would, you know, play the recorder, and then the ukulele got. Yeah, Three Blind Mice. I remember it well from my school years. But then the ukulele kind of came in as you know, an instrument, and it just suddenly there were instruments readily available. And I just remember, gosh, it must have been about 10 years ago now that I spotted one in a shop, and I had my granddad's old ukulele with no strings on it, and it was broken, but I loved it, and it hung up in my room when I was quite young, and I just thought, oh, maybe I should try that. And I picked it up on a whim. And I've been training as an actress and a singer. And I've always thought, wouldn't it be nice to learn the guitar or learn something so that I could accompany myself? And I never really had got on with anything. And then I picked the ukulele up, and I instantly fell in love with the instrument. And that, for me, that was it. And then I started writing my own music, and just spent a lot of time really obsessed with the instrument. And then what's been great is that then slowly the internet shows you that there's a lot of people like you as well that really enjoy it too. So for me, it was merely just something because I wanted to accompany myself, and I knew that I had history from my family who'd been playing it as well, and I just couldn't put it down. And that was me. That's how I kind of got into it in the first place. I like George's story though.
Well,
so
I mean,
George,
obviously,
what about you?
Well, I mean, obviously, as well as you people like George Formby, we've also, for the last 35 years, I think it is, had the Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain. And so a lot of players over here, I guess their most contemporary exposure to ukuleles is through the Ukulele Orchestra, and you know, who are massive over here and over in Europe, and they will do, you know, weeks-long tours over in Germany and Austria and all those kind of places, and they will sell out every night. You know, wow. I mean, their following is just incredible, and
it shaped the way that people viewed the ukulele. It was you can play classical music on it, you can play rock, you can play punk. You know, they were doing Nirvana and Sex Pistols, and then, you know, doing classical works as well. And suddenly people were like, oh, there's more. This instrument's actually incredibly versatile. So I think I agree with you, George. I think I credit the Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain to really starting the ukulele boom in England.
Yeah, and then the way I got into playing ukulele was that. Well, it was kind of twofold. I have two young children. Well, they're not so young now. My youngest is 8, and when they were quite a bit younger. So I've been a musician all my life. I'm a trombone player and a singer. And when my kids were young, I kind of thought, well, actually, I also play the piano, but I wanted to kind of sit in the garden and sing songs with them. And I thought, do you know what? I'll go and buy a really cheap ukulele. So I think I paid about £20 for this thing, which was terrible. But it was enough for me to sit in the garden and, you know, sing some nursery rhymes with my children. So that was really nice. And then one of my jobs for many years, I worked as one of the musicians at Shakespeare's Globe Theatre in London, and for that job we were expected no, there was an expectation for us to be able to play lots of different instruments, and that's kind of where I came to kind of class myself as a multi-instrumentalist, because I kind of built up the number of different instruments I can play, and I think I counted them up with my son once, and we got to about 16 or 17 different instruments that that I'm able to play. And one of the shows I did, I was asked whether I played Renaissance guitar, to which I said yes. And then I rang up a friend of mine who is a lute player, and I said, okay, how difficult is Renaissance guitar, because I've got to play it next week. And he said, the best thing you can do is pick yourself, go and buy yourself an 8-string tenor ukulele, because they're tuned in exactly the same way. And so I went out and I bought myself an 8-string tenor ukulele. The only difference is that the Renaissance guitar only has 7 strings, so it's only got a single A. It's only got a single A string, but the rest are double course.
Okay.
So I took one of the A strings off this 8-string ukulele, so it became a very rare beast indeed, a 7-string ukulele, and that was it. So I sat down for a week and worked out enough that I could get through this show, and I then commissioned a Renaissance guitar to be made for me, which I needed for the show, and that was it. And that kind of got me hooked. I'd never really got on with string instruments before, and that got me hooked onto ukulele, and then it just kind of snowballed from there.
Wow, so it's kind of like an accidental nice surprise, though.
Oh, very accidental, yes.
Wow.
It was never in the plan.
Yeah.
When I applied to the Royal College of Music, my mum would never have imagined that I would come out the other side and spend most weekends playing the ukulele. I'm just certain.
That's cool, though. That's cool. And then, so how did you guys meet each other and become like a duo?
Well, we'd both been playing the ukulele for a bit at this point. And there was a cafe near where we both live in Sevenoaks. It was called the Z Music Cafe. And it was a great venue. Unfortunately, no longer exists. But it was a lovely cafe. Upstairs, there were loads of rehearsal rooms. In the evenings, they would do loads of gigs there. It was a really great hub for musicians. Anyway, one of my colleagues who was teaching ukulele in Sevenoaks at this cafe had been asked to run a open mic night specifically for ukulele, and just dropped on Facebook and said, hi, does anybody want to do 2-3 song set at this venue? And I said, oh yeah, okay. I was so pleased, because I'd done other ukulele type events before that, but never anything so local. So I was so excited that this community was growing in my hometown, and I was really excited. So I said, oh yeah, definitely. And I turned up on the night, and in strolled
this handsome young fellow carrying a 7-string ukulele.
George came in basically, and we both performed solo sets at this open mic night. It was a really good evening, really lovely. And afterwards, we both decided to go across the road to the pub and have a couple of drinks. And that's when, in conversation, we hadn't performed anything classical individually at this gig. So when we were discussing where we'd come from and what we would like, our training and what we'd done, and we both realised that throughout our careers we've both trained as classical singers. Okay. And we said, wouldn't it be ridiculous if we combined classical opera with the ukulele? And the idea then snowballed, and we came up with Opera-lele. And the same guy who'd organised this gig, this open mic night, did another one in Maidstone, which is like on the other side of Kent as well. And we said, oh, we'll both perform solo again, but we've got a song we'd like to try together. And we performed that, got a standing ovation, and we went, okay, Opera-lele is born. Here we go. And that's how it all started, really.
It's absolutely true. A couple of bits that you missed out was the fact that at the time I was having some online lessons with Phil Dolman, and so after we had met, I then went back my next lesson with Phil, and I reported how the open mic had gone. And I said, on this really bizarre thing, I bumped into this girl who plays ukulele as well, and she's also a singer, and so we've decided we're going to do some opera and ukulele. And Phil said, "That's not Mandi, is it?" And I said, "Yes." And Phil had met Mandi previously.
Yeah, I was in a ukulele close harmony group called Artemis, and we had quite a short career, but we'd done a ukulele festival, and I'd met Phil at this festival, who really enjoyed what we did. So as soon as George sort of suggested it, Phil was like, "Oh, I know her."
Oh, wow.
It's a small world.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool, because you guys and just seeing you guys perform, like, you guys have this chemistry, and it's just so different. It's really refreshing, and I never thought I would laugh watching an ukulele player.
It's born out of hatred, I think.
And we love to hate each other,
and general mistrust of each other.
How the thing is that because of like the George Formby connection, there's always been this kind of the ukulele is not to be taken seriously, and we still have that issue now. And when we started Opera-lele, we injected this humor into it, but at the heart of it, the music had to be good. The music had to be, we don't want to be mocking the music, because we want to reflect these songs and the beauty of these songs. So we said, we'll be catty to each other in between the songs, but when we're performing, we're doing it properly.
Right.
Sorry, go on, Andrew.
No, I was gonna say, that's what I really liked, is just that it was like the music was tasteful, but it was a perfect blend of like comedy, and it wasn't just mocking the instrument, and it was like, it's not just using it as a prop. It's like it's actually being used, and that's why I was like, wow, this is just something. Yeah, that's why I really enjoyed it. So sorry, George.
Yeah, I mean, no. Well, I was going to say that, I mean, we didn't really set out for us to have this kind of on stage chemistry. It kind of happened because so our first big gig was Gnuff. In 2016, I think it was.
And we got selected. We applied with only doing these odd little small gigs when we first came up with the idea. And then suddenly we found out we got a gig at the biggest ukulele festival in the UK, and we would be performing not on any of the smaller stages, but we would be on the main stage. And it was a very overwhelming moment for myself, definitely. I mean,
you were more involved in the ukulele circuit than I was, so I was slightly, I didn't. So we turned up, and Mandi spent the whole weekend going, "Oh, look who it is," and I was like, "Oh, I've got no idea who that person is," And there were a few people that I knew, but not only were we on the main stage, but we were on directly before Danielle ate the sandwich. And so, and
I was a huge fan, and
you were fangirling all over the place.
Fangirling all over the place, and she's going to me. She was so lovely and so sweet, and every time she was like, "Oh, you guys were brilliant," I was like, "That's amazing!" I'm an absolute ukulele nerd at heart, and
but it was great for us because she was one of the main headline acts. So of course the theatre, because we were on directly before her, the theatre was full. The theatre was absolutely packed when we went on stage, because everyone had come to get their seats for Danielle.
Nice.
And so we kind of, before that was the first time we'd done a set of more than one song. That's the first time we had done more than just one song.
Wow.
Pressure's on, right?
Yeah, so we kind of, I remember that first Enough, we spent a lot of time going, well, how are we going to get 20 minutes? Well, 20 minutes seemed like an insurmountable task to try and get 20 minutes worth of material together. Because we'd only ever done this one song. And so we put this program together, but we were acutely aware that we didn't want to just stand on stage in a very formal way and present it as we would a classical concert, because that would be the most natural thing for us to do. So we kind of went, well, maybe we could kind of act a bit like husband and wife and kind of have digs at each other and you know, kind of take the mickey out of each other, but not the music, you know. And that was the key thing. It was, you know, we spend a lot of time working on the arrangements and making sure that they're good and as faithful to the originals as you can when you're making a piece of orchestral music work on 2 ukuleles. And the whole idea of us kind of having this, I mean, we would probably use the word banter over here, but this kind of back and forth, you know, and we always make sure if one of us picks a fight on stage, that the other one wins. So it's kind of, you know, we like it to feel nice and fair. And you know, so people aren't, you know, we have had people come up to us afterwards and say, oh, you're so nasty to each other, and especially to me, people are like, oh, you're so nasty to Mandy. And I said, well, yeah, but she's pretty nasty to me back. You know, and that
it's very fair. It's fair.
It is.
Yeah.
In a nasty way, it's fair.
Yeah, I remember like
go on.
No, you guys do like the thing where you guys play, I think you reach over and then someone plays the chord. Was it someone plays the chords and someone strums?
Yeah, so we have the La Donna Immobile, where George's ukulele will stop working, and so we share. So we're bringing in elements of physical comedy as well, and you know, we've always come to this saying, we are singers first and ukulele players second, and so that means that, you know, we can play with what we've got. There's no sort of grounding in technique. We can just kind of have fun with the instrument. And when we came up with the idea of sharing a uke, it came from just something physically funny for the audience to see.
I mean, we normally, you know, when we're working together every weekend, it means that we're sitting in our van and driving, you know, a few hundred miles or whatever it might be. So we have lots of time to talk, and we have lots of time to play ideas off each other. And
basically, if we come up with an idea and it makes both of us laugh, then we'll pursue it.
We'll try it.
Yeah, so that's the process.
But if one of us laughs and the other one goes, not sure, then usually it'll end up by the wayside. But yeah,
or it ends up in conversation and we develop it, and
absolutely,
we both find it funny. So
yeah, but there's plenty of songs that we've arranged and we've worked on, and then rehearsed them and then gone, no, it doesn't work. You know, it just, because obviously often we're taking big orchestral accompaniments and breaking them down to 2 ukuleles. And so, you know, some things don't work, and you know, there's plenty of things that have ended up on the cutting room floor. But thankfully, most things seem to work well enough.
Yeah, I think it was in Austria where we I think we joked around about doing like a Sweeney Todd thing, or I would join you guys or something, because that's like the only movie where I actually know the lyrics. So that would be pretty interesting. Yeah, Austria, that was so much fun. Oh, and of course we ran into the famous one and only Arnie.
Our best friend Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I'll find the photo and throw it up like right now.
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
It's okay, only us three saw him. It's all good.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he's a very private man.
Yeah, he came just to see Opera-lele.
I mean, he does. He follows us around. I mean, quite honestly, he's a bit of a pain.
I'm gonna have to put
is mental.
I'm gonna have to put a restraining order on him.
Yeah,
it's just getting a bit awkward now. But you know, he's a good lad. He poses for photos with us occasionally, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are so lucky.
I know, right?
Oh man, it's just, I don't know. I really hope that we could meet up soon for sure. Just for the sake of, I don't know.
Me too.
Just hanging out, you know, just like brainstorm ideas, just talk ukulele. I really.
Well, for us now, it's just as easy for us to get over to stateside than it is for us to get into Europe. There's no now that Brexit has hit. There's not much between it. So we might as well.
Who knows?
Turn left at the airport rather than turn right when we fly out.
Right. Oh, that'd be good. And just I don't know. It's probably one of the UK is probably one of, still to this day, probably one of the highlights of like my touring career so far. And it's little things, just like the architecture of the buildings, or it's just like how we were talking before, just the language of English, because like I was saying, you know, there's American English, there's like Hawaiian Pidgin, which is like an informal version, and then we have what you guys speak which is like proper English.
I
Well,
wouldn't
some of
say
us
it's
do.
completely proper, Andrew. I wouldn't say that, sunshine.
You sure?
Well, one of the links that we use in our set sometimes is that that Mandy and I are both from Kent, but as you might be able to hear from our accents, from quite different parts of Kent. Now, actually, strictly speaking, I'm not from Kent at all. I'm from a much posher part of the world, but than I currently live now. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. Language is amazing. Language is, we a lot of what we do in our sets is not, we don't script anything, so nothing that we say on stage is scripted, and we like it that way. I mean, obviously there are some things, there are introductions
there's points
to each
that
song.
we have to hit,
Yeah,
but we never script it.
No, we've never done it, and the beauty of that is it means it gives us an opportunity to riff off anything that happens. So it might, we've been to gigs where people have heckled us on stage because we have this relationship between each other on stage, where we, there's a bit of back chat and a bit of banter and we tease each other. Then it kind of, the audience often think that we're then fair game for them. So we do have people who heckle us sometimes on stage, or sometimes one of us will do something wrong or play a wrong note, and it just, we enjoy having that freedom to improvise a little bit on stage. And so so it's interesting. The differences in language is something that we enjoy as well, because we play, we've played in lots of different countries, and obviously there are some words that we would use as English people that make absolute sense to us, but
Well, I want to hear this.
We don't.
Like, do you have an example? I want to hear this. This is
well, I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't know whether you would use the word banter, for instance. I use the word banter.
Oh yeah, that was new for me too.
So we had quite an interesting conversation a few months ago with Pete Mac, Pete McCarty.
Yeah.
About language and about the differences between American English and English. But again, because a lot of our act is based on what we say as well as the music, it means that when we go to other countries, we have to adapt we have to adapt things, because a lot of things that are funny in England aren't funny in Germany or Austria or wherever it might be. So the performance that you saw of us in Austria would be quite different to a performance you would see us in England. And for instance, we do, we make references to some different products during our set, and we did, was it Ireland? It was Ireland. We were doing a reference to an ice cream brand, an ice cream company. And the guy who was running it, I said, "Can I just check? Do you have Wall's ice cream in Ireland?" And he said, "No, we don't. But we do have that particular ice cream. But the brand has got a different name. So for that joke to work, you'll have to change the brand to this."
So there's a bit of research that goes in sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, that's smart.
If we're traveling somewhere else, then it's like, right, what we genuinely look at our set list and go, what are the things that we can hit that will still be funny? And normally that's us talking to whoever picks us up from the airport or the organizer and just being like, right, so can we go through a different couple of things? Do you know this, and this? And then if they look completely blank at us, we're right, that joke doesn't work, we can't do that.
That's perfect for your repertoire though, like of just the content. Yeah, like, I mean, there's just those little things that you wouldn't expect. Like I remember going to it was like a store, and then there was Frosted Flakes. And I was like, Who is that polar bear? Right? Because, like, I mean, here it's all about the tiger.
Yeah.
So just like, I remember I was just so fascinated, just like how, like, even logos are different. I think the mayonnaise is different. A lot of things are different. But it's just so similar. But it's just, I don't know. I enjoyed every moment just seeing the differences and the similarities between, like, English versus, like, American English, I guess.
Yeah, well, when I was younger, I lived in California for a year because my dad got a contract out in Silicon Valley, and I witnessed it firsthand, quite a lot of the differences in language. It was nothing like just being there and the American kids being like, say toilet, and you're like, toilet, and they think that's hysterical.
I mean, like
it's really bizarre. I mean, it's nice that I was entertaining people at such a young age, and not really knowing why, but
I still get you to say toilet. It gets me every time.
I know, I'm hilarious, aren't I?
Yeah, just I don't know. It's just like the accent. It's I don't know if it's just refreshing or if it's just something nice and different. But it sounds like I like hearing that accent. Like even talking to you guys, it's like, wow, that just sounds. It's something about it has like a certain charm to it. Like certain
well,
like
it's exotic though, isn't it? I mean, it's it's the same. It's the same talking to you. To be honest,
what do I sound like?
Well, you sound like Andrew, but I sit in this chair so often, looking at this computer screen, talking to Mandy and listening to her voice, that actually having a different voice is more refreshing than you can ever imagine. But you're right. It's that kind of exotic thing. And you've travelled. I mean, you've travelled a lot, right? Especially over the last few years. But you're young. I mean, you're a baby. How old are you?
I just turned 28 in August.
Okay,
oh
28.
God.
So I mean, so
I'm so old.
Well, how old are you guys?
Go on, Mandy. You go first.
I'm 34.
Yeah.
34, and I'm in my mid to late post 30s.
Okay.
It's nice to hear you being so truthful.
I'm 42. I know I don't look it, but I am. That's why I'm sitting quite a long way back from the camera here for Andrew.
He'll get his free bus pass soon, and
yeah,
I'm
really
excited about that.
Oh yeah. Wait till you get the discounts when you go to the diners.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's it. I'm looking forward to all of that stuff. But you've travelled a huge amount and across Europe, and you'll see. I'm sure you will have noticed that even two neighbouring European countries could be completely different, and the people can be completely different as well.
Yeah, I mean, even the vibe from Austria and the UK was just different because. Well, everyone they're speaking a different language there versus the UK. It's just like a neighbor language, and I've been to places like China where I can't even understand a word. So
yeah,
it's the first place I've been out of the country the words it's different. Like some of the terms we use, like I think you guys use rubbish, right?
Yeah, instead
of
we
trash. We use trash. Just like it's like synonyms, but it's just so fascinating to learn, and I can fully understand you, even though we don't use some of the bantering terms like that.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not a bad thing.
But when we were really traveling, I kind of got used to being able to work out when I'd said something that someone didn't understand. You're talking to someone and you suddenly see the eyes glaze over just a little bit, and you go, okay, now I've got to explain to you what a biscuit is.
Oh, that's right. The biscuit.
And chips and fries, those conversations. And I suddenly say something and I'm like, okay, right, let's explain.
Oh yeah, so for those out there, if you don't know, chips is it's for fries, right?
Yes.
So we call
and then biscuits is like, I know Petey, you love your Southern biscuits, which is
that's a different.
It's not a cookie. It's like a cookie, and a cookie is a biscuit to you guys, right?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
And pants is the other good one because pants is that they're long trousers, right?
Yeah.
Pants. But for us, pants are underwear.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I could say to you, I'm sitting here in a jumper and pants. And that means a very, very different thing to you saying that you're sitting there in a t-shirt and pants.
Yeah.
And also, my favourite one is we have a bum bag, which is otherwise known as a fanny pack. And if you say fanny pack here in England, it means something else. So
you'll get lots of laughter. Yeah,
you'll get a lot of laughter if you say fanny pack in England.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I noticed. So it's just that the humor is different, the words is different. Like certain things I had to ask. I was literally asking. I think it was Robin because I'm hanging around him a lot in the audience. I was like, "What does that even mean?" Like he had to be like my translator on the low. And so that's just interesting. Yeah, biscuit pants. I don't know I mean. What else? I guess other ones that you should know.
So for us, the boot of the car is the trunk of the car.
The boot. I'm gonna
We
put
call
this
it a
in the
boot.
boot of the car.
Boot.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like we don't have freeways; we have motorways.
Okay.
It's the same thing, but just a different word. I don't know what else. What else, Mandy?
Sometimes we will call dinner tea, and people they think, oh, what, a cup of tea? No, dinner is tea, and that throws people quite a lot. And
But
when I lived out in America, I remember inviting because I went to school out there, and I invited some of them over I said, do you want to come over for tea? And they said, oh, what, with like cucumber sandwiches? I was like, no, like dinner. And they were like, oh, okay.
Oh,
but that's a. I mean, there's even a divide over that within this country. If you go to the north of England,
different.
Yeah, it is. You go to the north of England, then they will have at lunchtime they will have dinner.
Oh,
and then in the evening they'll have tea.
Okay, but is this the same thing as like tea time?
Well, tea time. If you were in the north of England, tea time would be your evening meal.
Yeah.
Whereas in the south of England, that would be when you would have dinner. And at lunchtime, in the middle of the day, you would have lunch. Whereas up north, you would often have dinner.
That's like so confusing because
isn't it
tea is like super popular, right? Like over coffee, or what? Or is it just like
we love a good cup of coffee, Andrew. We still like a coffee, but tea is.
Tea is yeah. I was going to say tea is probably more typically associated with England, and coffee tends to be more typically associated with America, I guess. But now that we have a Starbucks on every corner, then it's
we are going we're going in that direction of coffee.
Oh wow! Oh, that's just like, I want to come back.
Well, hey,
we'll get you back.
We
We're
can
gonna get you
stay
back
anytime.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, like hopefully, whenever this Winchester's thing is, I think it's postponed to another time. That's when I'll see you guys for sure. But it's definitely overdue. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to take too much of your guys' time. Thank you guys for donating your time and catching up. It was lots of fun to see both of you guys. And
so good to see you.
Yeah, and you guys, if you haven't heard of Opera-lele, you guys gotta check these guys out. It's something so unique and refreshing. It's funny, it's musical, and it really is a blast.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. You're not so bad yourself, Andrew.
Thanks. But I guess hopefully I'll see you guys soon. But take care and see you hopefully this year.
Yeah, we'll keep everything crossed.
Crossing
Thanks
all the
so much.
Andrew.
Thanks for having us.
All right, guys. Thank you.